Imagine standing at the edge of time itself, where the fabric of reality begins to unravel, and the world as we know it transforms into something beyond our wildest imagination. This isn't science fiction. This isn't a Hollywood blockbuster. This is what billions of people across the world believe will happen when the final chapter of human history begins to unfold. Tonight, we're going on a journey that will shake everything you think you know about the future, about destiny. What you're about to discover has been hidden in ancient texts, whispered by prophets, and debated by scholars for over 14 centuries. And the most terrifying part is that some of these signs, these warnings from the past, are already appearing in our world today, right now, in ways that will make your blood run cold. Let me take you back to a time long before smartphones, before the internet, before modern civilization as we know it. Picture the vast Arabian desert in the 7th century, where a man sits with his closest companions under a sky filled with more stars than you could count in a lifetime. The air is still, the night is quiet, and then he begins to speak about events that will happen hundreds, even thousands of years into the future. He describes technologies that didn't exist, societies that hadn't formed, and changes to the world that seemed absolutely impossible to the people listening to him. But here's where it gets absolutely mind-blowing. Those prophecies, those predictions made over 1,400 years ago are coming true right before our eyes, one after another, like dominoes falling in a sequence that was set in motion centuries before any of us were born. The companions who heard these words were shocked, some were frightened, others were curious, but all of them understood that they were hearing about the end of everything they knew. The concept of the end times isn't just about destruction and chaos, though there's plenty of that in the prophecies. It's about a complete transformation of reality itself, where the rules of physics as we understand them will cease to apply, where time and space will bend and break, where the dead will rise from their graves, and where every single action you've ever taken, every word you've ever spoken, every thought you've ever had will be brought into the light and judged. But before we get to that ultimate reckoning, there's an entire timeline of events that must unfold, a sequence of signs, both minor and major, that will mark humanity's journey toward its final destination. These signs aren't vague metaphors or poetic symbolism. They're specific, detailed predictions that describe exact phenomena, exact behaviors, exact changes to human society and the natural world that will indicate the approach of the last hour. The first of these signs was the coming of the final prophet himself, the last messenger sent to guide humanity before the end. After him, there would be no more prophets, no more direct divine guidance, and humanity would be left with the teachings and warnings that had already been given. Knowledge would be taken away from the world, not through the burning of books or the destruction of libraries, but through the death of scholars and the rise of ignorance. People would speak about things they don't understand. Leaders would emerge who have no wisdom or qualification to lead, and the masses would follow them blindly into disaster. Does this sound familiar? Look around at our world today, where anyone with an internet connection can claim to be an expert, where misinformation spreads faster than truth, where people in positions of power make decisions that affect millions without having the slightest understanding of the consequences. Time itself would change, or at least our perception of it. Scientists call this the acceleration of subjective time as we age, but there's something more profound happening here. Technology has compressed our experience of time communication that once took months now happens in milliseconds. Information that once required years of study is available instantly, and our attention spans have shrunk to the point where we can barely focus on anything for more than a few seconds. The world is moving faster and faster, spinning toward some inevitable conclusion that we can feel but can't quite name. Another sign was that people would compete in constructing tall buildings, turning the construction of skyscrapers into a competition of ego and pride. Look at Dubai, look at any major city in the world, and you'll see this prophecy manifested in glass and steel towers reaching toward the sky as if trying to touch heaven itself, each one trying to surpass the last in a never-ending race toward the clouds. The relationship between parents and children would deteriorate, with children treating their parents with disrespect and cruelty. The family structure, which had been the foundation of human society for thousands of years, would begin to crumble. Traditional values would be mocked and abandoned, replaced by individualism and the pursuit of personal pleasure above all else. Sexual immorality would become widespread and open. Things that were once done in secret and shame would be celebrated publicly. The consumption of alcohol and intoxicants would increase dramatically, not just among the lost and desperate, but among all levels of society. Music and entertainment would dominate people's lives, distracting them from deeper truths and spiritual development. Again, look at our world today, scroll through social media for 5 minutes, turn on the television, walk down any city street, and you'll see every single one of these signs playing out in high definition. At first glance, this seems contradictory to our current world, where poverty still exists in massive numbers, but look deeper at the psychology of modern society. In wealthy nations, people have more material possessions than any generation in human history, yet they're more depressed, more anxious, more spiritually empty than ever before. The prophecy isn't just about physical wealth. It's about a spiritual poverty that comes from having everything material, but nothing meaningful. People would trust the untrustworthy and distrust the trustworthy. Liars would be believed and truth-tellers called liars. In our age of fake news and alternative facts, where reality itself seems to be up for debate, this prophecy resonates with terrifying clarity. Women would outnumber men. Some interpretations suggest by a ratio of 50 women to 1 man, though others view this more symbolically as women taking on roles traditionally held by men, while men become passive and weak. Wars and conflicts would multiply. Violence would spread across the earth like a plague. People would kill without even knowing why they're killing. The murderer wouldn't know why he killed, and the victim wouldn't know why he was killed. This describes a level of chaos and meaningless violence that we're beginning to see in random acts of terror, in senseless mass shootings, in conflicts that seem to have no clear goal or resolution. The Muslims, specifically, would become weak and divided, fighting among themselves, despite being large in number. They would be attacked from all sides by their enemies, who would gather against them like diners gathering around a feast. Their hearts would become weak, filled with love of the world and hatred of death, losing the courage and conviction that once made them strong. But these minor signs, as disturbing as they are just the beginning, the opening act of a drama that will culminate in events so catastrophic, so world-altering, that they dwarf anything humanity has experienced before. The major signs are the headlines of the apocalypse, the unmistakable markers that the final chapter has begun. The first of these major signs varies in different narrations, but many scholars point to the coming of the Mahdi, a guided leader who will emerge during a time of tremendous chaos and corruption. He won't claim to be a prophet or anything divine, but rather a reformer who will unite the Muslims and restore justice to a world drowning in oppression. His appearance will coincide with times of great tribulation, wars, and social collapse, when people will be desperate for any kind of leadership that offers hope and guidance. Shortly after the Mahdi's emergence, another figure will appear, but this one will be the opposite of everything good and true. The Dajjal, the false Messiah, the Antichrist, will be the greatest trial humanity has ever faced. The descriptions of this figure are specific and terrifying. He will be blind in one eye with the word kafir, meaning disbeliever, written between his eyes in a way that only believers can read. He will possess powers that seem miraculous, able to command the sky to rain and the earth to bring forth vegetation. He'll bring with him what appears to be paradise and hellfire, but in reality, his paradise will be hell, and his hell will be paradise. He'll travel the earth at incredible speed, staying everywhere except Mecca and Medina, which will be protected from his entry. His deception will be so complete, so convincing, that masses of people will follow him, believing him to be divine, believing his lies over the truth that's right in front of them. He'll rule for 40 days, though one day will be like a year, another like a month, another like a week, and the rest like normal days. Another distortion of time itself as reality begins to break down. Not as a new prophet, but as a follower of the final prophet's teachings, he will descend near a white minaret in Damascus, wearing 2 garments and placing his hands on the wings of 2 angels. His return will be the ultimate sign that we've entered the final phase. Jesus will then rule with justice, breaking the cross to show that he was never divine, killing the swine. During his rule, peace and prosperity will spread across the earth in a way never seen before. Wealth will be so abundant that no one will accept charity. A single pomegranate will feed a large group of people, and the earth will yield its blessings like never before. But this golden age won't last forever because another major sign awaits. The emergence of Gog and Magog, 2 tribes of people who have been trapped behind a barrier since ancient times. They'll be a force of pure destruction, killing everything in their path, and humanity will be powerless to stop them. Their prayers will be answered not through military victory, but through divine intervention, as a plague will strike Gog and Magog, killing them all in a single night. The earth will be filled with their corpses and the stench of decay, until God sends birds with necks like camels to carry the bodies away and rain to cleanse the earth. A massive smoke will cover the earth for 40 days, suffocating the disbelievers while giving believers something like a cold. The sun will rise from the west instead of the east, a reversal of the natural order so complete that when people see it, the door of repentance will close forever. Anyone who hasn't believed by that point will find their faith useless, and those who were already believers but hadn't done good deeds will find their last-minute efforts meaningless. The finality of this moment is absolute. There are no more chances, no more opportunities to change course. A strange beast will emerge from the earth, so massive and bizarre that its description defies easy visualization. Some say it will speak to people, telling them that humanity has not been certain of divine signs, that they've doubted and questioned and rejected truth until it's too late. Fire will emerge from Yemen or from Aden, driving people toward their final gathering place, accompanying them by night and day, never giving them rest or respite. This fire won't just destroy, it will herd humanity like cattle toward their ultimate destination. And gentle, that will take the souls of every believer, leaving only the worst of humanity on earth. Those who remain will be people with no morality, no shame, no faith, copulating in public like donkeys, caring nothing for decency or truth. The trumpet will be blown by the angel Israfil, and every living thing will die instantly. From the smallest insect to the mightiest creature, all life will cease in a single moment. The earth will shake with a tremendous earthquake, the mountains will crumble to dust, the oceans will boil and overflow, the stars will fall from the sky, and the sun will be darkened. Then comes a period of silence, of absolute nothingness, lasting for a length of time known only to God. During this void, there is no life, no consciousness, no experience, just the empty shell of a dead universe waiting for its next transformation. The trumpet will sound again, and this time it will be the call to resurrection. Every human who has ever lived, from Adam to the very last person born before the end, will be recreated from a small bone at the base of the spine that never decays. They'll emerge from the earth confused, naked, uncircumcised, exactly as they were created, but now facing a reality they could never have imagined. The earth will be transformed into a flat, featureless plain, stretched out so that everyone can see everything. There will be no hiding, no shadows, nowhere to escape from what's coming. The sun will be brought close to the heads of humanity, so close that people will be drowning in their own sweat according to their deeds, some up to their ankles, some to their knees, some to their waist, and some completely submerged. The wait will be agonizing, lasting for 50,000 years of our current time measurement, though for believers it will pass as quickly as a single prayer. People will be desperate for the judgment to begin, so tormented by the waiting that they'll go from prophet to prophet, begging them to intercede, to ask God to start the reckoning. Adam will say he cannot, Noah will say he cannot, Abraham will say he cannot, Moses will say he cannot, Jesus will say he cannot. All of them will direct the masses to the final prophet, and only he will step forward to intercede for the judgment to begin. The scales will be set up, massive beyond comprehension, and every deed of every person will be weighed with perfect precision. A person's book of deeds will be given to them, the righteous receiving it in their right hand, the wicked receiving it in their left hand from behind their back. The pages will contain everything, every action witnessed or hidden, every word spoken or whispered, every intention pure or corrupt, all of it recorded by angels who never sleep and never miss a single detail. People will read their records and be astonished, crying out that this book has left nothing small or great unaccounted for. The minor deeds people thought were insignificant, the private sins they thought were secret, the good acts they did and forgot about, all of it will be there in permanent ink. Then comes the bridge over hell, thinner than a hair and sharper than a sword, stretched across the inferno that burns below. Everyone must cross it. There's no alternative route, no bypass, no exception. The believers will cross according to their deeds, some as fast as lightning, some as fast as wind, some as fast as birds, some running, some walking, some crawling, but they will make it across to the other side. The disbelievers and the wicked will fall from the bridge into the fire below, their screams echoing across the plain as they tumble into an eternity of regret and punishment. There will be intercession for some believers who had faith but were burdened with sins, pulled from the fire by divine mercy after being purified through punishment. But for the disbelievers, there is no intercession, no escape, no end to their torment. Paradise awaits those who cross the bridge, but before they enter, they'll be held at a place between paradise and hell, where any remaining grudges or ill feelings toward each other will be removed from their hearts. You cannot enter eternal bliss with hatred in your soul, so God will purify them completely, making them ready for what comes next. The gates of paradise will open, and what lies beyond is so magnificent, so beautiful, so beyond human comprehension, that the descriptions we have are admitted to be inadequate, like trying to explain color to someone blind from birth. Rivers flowing with water that never stagnates, rivers of milk whose taste never changes, rivers of wine delicious to drink with no intoxicating effect, rivers of pure honey, fruits beyond imagination, companionship of the righteous, and most precious of all, the ability to see God himself, the ultimate reward that makes every blessing in paradise pale in comparison. But paradise has levels, and not everyone will experience it the same way. The lowest level of paradise is still infinitely better than the best moment anyone ever experienced in worldly life. But the difference between the levels is vast as the distance between the earth and the sky. The people in the higher levels will be able to see those in the levels below them, like we see stars in the sky, and among the highest will be the prophets, the martyrs, the truthful, and the righteous. The last person to enter paradise will be someone who crawled across the bridge barely making it, and even that person will be given a kingdom 10 times the size of the entire earth. And when they think that's all they get, meanwhile, hell is filled with those who rejected truth, who oppressed others, who spread corruption, who denied divine signs despite seeing them clearly. The descriptions of their punishment are graphic and terrifying, not because of some sadistic desire for revenge, but because justice demands consequences for actions taken with full knowledge and free will. The fire of hell is 70 times hotter than earthly fire, hot enough that if a single spark from it fell to earth, it would burn everything instantly. The people there will have skins that grow back every time they're burned away so they can feel the pain continuously. They'll drink boiling water that tears their insides apart. They'll eat from a tree so bitter and thorny that it provides no nourishment, only agony. They'll cry until their tears run dry and then cry blood. They'll scream until their voices are gone and then scream silently. The worst part isn't the physical torment, it's the psychological horror of knowing it will never end, that there's no hope of escape or reprieve, that every second of eternity stretches ahead with the same suffering, the same regret, the same realization that they chose this fate themselves. Now here's what makes all of this absolutely crucial for us living right now in this moment. We are witnessing the minor signs unfold at an accelerating rate, and some scholars argue we're approaching the time when the major signs will begin. Who lived in a desert with no access to the knowledge or technology we have today, yet who described our world with uncanny accuracy. The tall buildings reaching toward the sky, the breakdown of family structures, the spread of immorality, the devaluing of human life, the worship of wealth and status, the distrust of truth and trust in lies. All of it is happening right now, not in some distant future, but in our lifetime, in our cities, in our daily scrolling through news feeds and social media. This isn't meant to make you paranoid or afraid to live your life, but rather to wake you up to the reality that our time here is limited, that the choices we make matter eternally, that the pleasures and pains of this world are temporary compared to what awaits in the next. Every day you're given is an opportunity to prepare, to rectify your relationship with your Creator, to treat others with justice. The prophet, peace be upon him, said that one of the companions asked him what was the best deed, and he replied, faith in God and his messenger. Then what, he was asked. And he said, struggling in the cause of God. Then what? And he said, an accepted pilgrimage. But he also emphasized that even small good deeds done consistently are beloved to God, that a smile to your brother is charity, that removing harmful things from the path is charity, that a kind word is charity. You don't have to be a scholar or a saint to prepare for what's coming. You just have to be sincere to try your best to ask for forgiveness when you fall short, and to never give up hope in divine mercy, no matter how many mistakes you've made. The door of repentance remains open until the sun rises from the west. The prophet, peace be upon him, said that if the day of judgment arrives and you're holding a seedling in your hand, plant it, meaning continue to do good, even in the face of the end. Maintain hope and purpose, even when everything seems lost. He also said that the best of people are those of his generation, then those who follow them, then those who follow them. And we are so many generations removed from that best era, living in a time that was prophesied to be filled with confusion and trials, yet also a time when holding on to faith will be like holding on to burning coal, painful and difficult, but incredibly rewarded. Think about your life right now, the things you worry about, the goals you chase, the conflicts you engage in, the money you accumulated. Will it speak for you or against you? Did you earn it justly? The relationships you had? Did you treat people with kindness and fairness? Or did you use them for your own benefit and discard them when convenient? The knowledge you gained, did you use it to help others and seek truth? Or did you use it for arrogance and to mislead? Every blessing you were given is actually a test, a responsibility, and you will be asked about how you used it. The reality is that we're all walking toward that inevitable appointment. Every breath brings us closer. Every heartbeat counts down the seconds we have left. Someone who died 1,000 years ago and someone who will die 1,000 years from now will both wake up on the day of resurrection feeling like they just closed their eyes a moment ago because time in the grave is different. This means that your judgment is always closer than you think, regardless of when the hour actually arrives for all of humanity. Your personal hour arrives the moment you take your last breath, and everything that happens after that is set in motion by everything you did before that. So what do we do with this information? How do we live, knowing that the world is approaching its end, and that we're approaching our individual ends even faster? We don't panic, we don't despair, we don't become paralyzed by fear. Instead, we become purposeful, intentional, awake to the reality behind the illusion of permanence that society tries to sell us. We stop wasting time on things that don't matter, on petty arguments and meaningless entertainment and the accumulation of possessions we can't take with us. We start investing in what lasts, in good character, in beneficial knowledge, in sincere worship, in helping others and leaving the world better than we found it, even if we can't fix everything. We treat every day as both a gift and a test, grateful for the opportunity, but aware of the responsibility. We also spread awareness, not to scare people into faith, because fear alone doesn't create lasting change. The signs are all around us, screaming that something monumental is approaching, but most people are too busy staring at screens or chasing trends to notice. You have knowledge now that many don't have, and with knowledge comes responsibility. The responsibility to share it wisely, to live it authentically, to be a light in the darkness that's spreading across the earth. You don't have to be perfect to share truth. You just have to be honest about your own struggles while pointing toward the path that leads to success in both worlds. Remember that the purpose of these prophecies isn't just to predict the future, it's to prepare us for it. When the companions heard about these signs, they were moved to tears. They changed their lives. They increased their worship and decreased their attachment to worldly things. They lived with urgency and purpose, knowing that time was running out. We should have that same urgency, that same seriousness, especially since we're seeing signs they only heard about. We're living in the era they were warned about. We're the generation that might very well witness events they could only imagine. That's both terrifying and oddly privileging. Terrifying because of what's coming, but privileging because we've been chosen to live in this crucial time. And if we rise to the challenge, there are enormous rewards waiting for those who remain steadfast when everything around them is collapsing. The final hour will come. That's not a question, it's a certainty. And when it does, there will be no more chances to change, no more opportunities to make things right, no more time to seek forgiveness or do good deeds. The time to act is now while your heart is still beating, while your mind is still functioning,